It started with a single set of footprints, leading out of the Wilson plot at dawn on a Tuesday. The dew still heavy on the grass and the sky a pale gray that seemed to cling to everything like a damp shroud. I'd been working as a graveyard groundskeeper for 5 years, and I'd never seen anything like it. At first, I thought maybe it was just some kids messing around, but as I looked closer, I realized the footprints were adult-sized and they seemed to be walking with a purpose, not just wandering around. The next day, I saw another set, this time leading out of the Johnson plot, and the day after that, another set leading out of the Thompson plot. It was like someone was visiting these graves, but I never saw anyone around. I started to feel a creeping sense of dread as I made my rounds, checking the graves and making sure everything was tidy. The footprints were always the same, a single set, leading out of a grave and always at dawn. I began to wonder if it was some kind of ritual or if someone was playing a sick joke on me. As the days went by, the footprints continued to appear, always at dawn, always leading out of a different grave. I started to notice that the graves that were being visited were all relatively new, the headstones still shiny and black, the grass around them still thin and patchy. It was as if whoever was making the footprints was drawn to the newer graves, the ones where the grief was still fresh. I tried to brush it off as mere coincidence, but the feeling of being watched, of being waited for, it was starting to get to me. I'd catch myself glancing over my shoulder, expecting to see someone standing there, watching me. But there was never anyone. The footprints just kept appearing, a constant reminder that something was off, something was wrong. It wasn't until I saw the footprint leading out of my own family's plot that I realized the true horror of what was happening. My grandmother had passed away just a month before, and the thought of someone visiting her grave, making a footprint in the dirt, it was too much for me. I felt a wave of anger and fear wash over me, and I knew I had to do something. I started to investigate to try and find out who was making the footprints and why. I spent hours poring over the graveyard's records, looking for any connection between the graves that were being visited. And then one night, I saw it, a pattern, a connection that made my blood run cold. The graves that were being visited, they all had one thing in common. The people buried in them had all died on the same day, a day that was exactly 1 year ago. It was as if someone was commemorating the anniversary of their deaths, visiting their graves and making a footprint in the dirt. But why? And who was doing it? I was determined to find out, to get to the bottom of the mystery. I spent the next few days staking out the graveyard, waiting for dawn, waiting for the footprints to appear. And then, on the 5th day, I saw it, a figure, tall and imposing, standing over a grave, making a footprint in the dirt. I tried to sneak up on them to get a closer look, but they were too quick. They saw me and ran, disappearing into the darkness. I was left standing there, alone and shaken, wondering what I had just seen. The footprint was still there, a reminder of the horror that I had witnessed. And as I looked down at it, I realized that it was not just a footprint. It was a message from someone who was still out there, watching and waiting. I knew then that I had to be careful, that I had to watch my back, because whoever was making those footprints, they were not finished yet. And as I stood there, frozen in fear, I heard a faint whisper, a whisper that seemed to come from all around me, a whisper that said, "I'm still here."